So I had to wake up really early last night to get to work. I had a bunch of orders to send out and a number of Zoom calls scheduled. So I actually woke up at around just after midnight last night. And one of the first things I always do is kind of check out, new uploads on YouTube from channels I follow, and to see what else has popped up on my timeline. And the very first thing I saw was a video from a creator talking about the Russian attack, a Russian attack in Poland, a drone attack in Poland, and I'm like, what? Has Russia gone mad? Has the war in Ukraine escalated? So obviously, this is very, very concerning. Yeah, Poland being a NATO member, and this video was based on a report on Telegram from the Ukrainian Air Force, indicating or stating that a number of drones had violated Russian drones made in Tehran, or made in Iran, sorry, had violated Polish airspace and they had been successfully shot down. Shortly after this, the Ukrainian Air Force post on Telegram was taken down. But yet the media has gone absolutely ballistic, no pun intended, full of stories about Russian aggression, how Russia's escalating the war, expanding the war, and really ramping up the fear level. Now, I'm not saying that the Russian drones didn't penetrate Polish airspace and that they weren't shot down, but we don't know the full story behind this. We don't have all of the facts yet. That this other creator was able to put together a 1.5 hour video with detailed maps showing drone locations almost immediately after this had happened raised a lot of questions for me. How did this person have this much information this quickly? I'll let you draw your own conclusions on that. But the West has gone war crazy. They're foaming at the mouth. Obviously, we're going to hear the usual declarations of support from the UK, from France, a couple of Democrat congressmen in the US I've seen have already said that, we're going to stand with Ukraine. This is a direct act of war against a NATO partner. But they're just frenzying now to get into war. And I can tell you what, this is exactly what Zelensky wants. Zelensky wants to pull the rest of NATO, or NATO, into a direct conflict with Russia. This is exactly what he wants. He's not satisfied to keep receiving billions and billions and billions of dollars in aid, direct financial aid and military support. He wants US, UK, French, NATO troops on the ground in Poland fighting Russia. This is exactly what he wants, and this plays into it. Now, what was Russia's motives behind this? Let's assume for a second there were Russian drones. They did penetrate Polish airspace. Russia's denying that there was a direct intent to attack Poland. Could these have been rogue drones? Could they have gone off course? Could there have been some programming errors? We don't know yet. We absolutely do not know yet. But they've stated that they do not want to get into a direct conflict with NATO. Could they have been testing NATO's response, sending in a few drones? And this is a common military tactic that you draw enemy fire to see where their defensive positions are. Could they have been seeing what NATO's military and subsequent political response would be to an incursion into Polish airspace? We don't know. We don't have all the facts yet. But what I do know is that something doesn't quite seem right here. I'm getting feelings of that movie, Wag the Dog. Here we go again. Something has happened, another distraction. Zelensky is getting all excited, hopping around Kiev, thinking that, you know, the war's going to be widened. There's going to be NATO troops in Ukraine. Canada's already made a declaration. Anita Anand, the foreign minister in Canada, has already said, we stand with Poland, the usual. Shortly after Mark Carney attacked Israel for bombing Hamas targets in Qatar, shocked and outraged by the violation of Qatari sovereignty. He should be shocked and outraged by the fact that Qatar has been housing Hamas, has been giving them luxury accommodations and allowing them to wage the war on Israel from the safety of Qatar, from the safety of their multi-million Qatari villas. Where was the shock and outrage for this? Very quiet on that front, Carney. But we're going to hear all the usual declarations now. Starmer's going to come out and say something if he hasn't already. Macron, van der Leyen is going to come out and say something about, you know, we stand with Ukraine, and the money is going to keep flowing. You know, if we're not sending young men and women from NATO over to Ukraine, we're going to keep spending billions and billions of taxpayers' dollars keeping this war going, keeping Zelensky in power. It just doesn't end. But there's more to follow on this story. Poland has invoked Article 4 of the NATO agreement, which is basically bringing everybody together for a consultation. We don't know yet what's coming out of that, so I'm following that. And as soon as I hear something, I'll shoot out another video. But that's the latest. I'm sure you've seen it already. But I do suggest keep watching. I don't think everything is quite as it seems. This is exactly what Zelensky wants. This is what the warmongers, those who are desperate to widen the war, to keep the money flowing, to keep this wealth transfer going. This is exactly what they want. This plays fully into their hands. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Listen, I'm a strong believer in having a very strong military, in you know, a military that defends the territorial sovereignty of their nations. I've been in the army. I'm not against, you know, the just application of military force, but when it comes to propping up corrupt regimes, when it comes to betraying the trust of the men and women who serve for noble reasons, when it comes to betraying their trust and getting them to do things to protect the financial interests of a few, to me, that's when it crosses the line. And this, I see Ukraine as being nothing but crossing the line. And how many hundreds of thousands of young Ukrainians have paid the price? How much money could have been spent on funding healthcare, funding education? How much of that has gone to keeping this war going? Starting to really just, you know, piss me off. Anyhow, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and, you know, share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, would truly appreciate you subscribing to the channel. And again, as soon as there's more to follow on this, I'll put out another video. But until the next one, take care of yourselves.